Happy Monday to everybody. Is Arizona truly in a tier of their own in the Big 12? Find out on today's pod.
Welcome on in, guys, to the AZ Wildcats podcast, coming to you live from Studio K, presented by our friends at Circle K. I am Damon Fairall. He's Kevin Thomas. We are in PHNX HQ3 here in lovely, beautiful downtown Phoenix on a Monday. Happy Monday to everybody out there. And unfortunately, the weekend is over, but it was a great weekend of football. We got a little bit more football on the horizon here tonight, Monday Night Football. Who doesn't love some NFL playoffs, Kevin? But the Wildcats gear up to play Arizona State on Wednesday. Obviously, we all know that means that we got to dunk on little bro again. Kevin and I are going to help you break that down. We're going to talk some portal updates from Arizona football, and we're going to get into a little bit of a Big 12 tier ranking when it comes to the best basketball conference in America. But Kevin, how was your weekend, my guy?
Weekend was good. Weekend was fun. I did catch a little bit of football, you know what I mean? But mostly was just chilling, enjoying the basketball that was. We have had a great week and a half, I feel like, of games, matchups, and all that. But yeah, Damon, I'm doing good. I hope everybody in chat is doing well. I'm really excited for today's episode. Should be some great conversation about the transfer portal stuff. Should also be some really fun potential back and forth between me and Damon during this tier ranking process of where we think some teams should be. And should Arizona be on a tier of their own? We can have that conversation a little bit later. But as we wanted to start this podcast off today, Arizona football, the staff is cooking. The staff is absolutely cooking. Now, I don't know about you, Damon, but whatever the food looks like during the cooking process does not matter to me. It matters what it tastes like and what it looks like when it's served to me, right? So I know that this staff is cooking. And as we talked about on the basketball postgame recently, I'll bring this conversation here for those that might not have been tapped in at the very end of our postgame, which you all should be, but I know some of you might not have been. Damon and I were talking about how not all these transfer portal signings have moved me specifically. And now I won't go as far as to say what some people in Justin Spears' DMs have been saying, like, oh, these guys aren't good. I'm not moved. They need to do better. I'm not saying Arizona staff needs to do better. I'm just saying that some of these transfer portal additions don't necessarily leap off of my social media page to me as that's an impact guy. Now, it could be an impact guy. The same way I would have said, who the hell is Jaden Bradley before last year? And then at the end of last year, we're talking about Jaden Bradley, Nunu Bradley, being one of the more targeted players on the team. However, the streak of me not being moved has ended, Damon. We have some big time acquisitions, specifically a linebacker from USC. Can you tell us a little bit about this transfer portal addition, Damon?
Yeah, I do wish I did a little bit of a name pronunciator before this podcast on one Motiejus Krivas.
I feel like you killed that.
Right? Decent.
Motiejus Krivas.
We might need him out at Big 12 Media Day to get a rundown of this in person, as Rhino Tapatotai gave us last year in Frisco. But yeah, this feels like a big time transfer for Arizona. This is a guy who was a borderline top 100 player coming out of high school just a year ago in the 2025 class. He then went to USC. He appeared in 8 games as a true freshman, Kevin, which I think is pretty impressive at a place like USC. Place that is known for having linebackers. Like USC is straight up known positionally to have good linebackers. Obviously, there was the era of Clay Matthews and Brian Cushing and Ray Malaluga, where they had 3 NFL guys in their linebacking core. Not quite that level, but this is a program that is kind of known for their ability to produce linebackers. And this is a player that I think was going to play a bigger role in 2026. I was talking to my good buddy Kevin, who peruses this chat from time to time, and he is a big-time USC fan. His dad went there. And he was telling me that Tagovailoa is a guy that I think USC fans were pretty hyped about when they got him. I saw some comparisons to one Su'Ao Cravens, Kevin, who I don't know if you're familiar, but is a USC legend in the Trojan circle of the world. And yeah, I think that this is a pickup that like this guy should start. Like there's no doubt about it in my mind. Maybe he was a little bit kind of held back by just the talent and the depth at a program like USC. Maybe he saw some writing on the wall that, it was going to be another season of him playing more special teams, playing more in a backup role. And he said, I'm good enough to go start somewhere else. And that's what we're seeing, I think, at a program like Arizona. So even though, I think you bring in a guy like Cooper Blomstrom to be that Riley Wilson replacement, you bring in a Everett Rosu Jr. to be a potential replacement for one Max Harris, as Justin Spears has outlined to us. I think that Motiejus Krivas is a guy who can be a level changer for Arizona next season. And yeah, I'm hyped up about this one. Plus, Arizona fans just love seeing that scarlet and gold on a transfer graphic, don't they?
They love taking from former Pac-12 rivals.
But specifically USC, I think, fires people up. Because USC is thought of having, all the talent in the world, being the premier West Coast program when it comes to recruiting, them in Oregon. So I think that those two schools, really when Arizona gets a player from one of those two schools, you sit there and you go, man, we just got Justin Flo? Are you kidding me? This teams are not going to know what to do next season against Arizona. And then you're like, Justin Flo isn't that good. Hopefully, Tagovailoa is a little bit better of a hit in that regard.
No, yeah, this is certainly a recruit that should move everybody that follows Arizona football. And as I put out the other day, if you are a defensive player in the portal, you should want to play for Danny Gonzalez. And I think we are seeing Arizona reaping the benefits of having such an elite level defense last year that if you're watching it, I mean, we all know how these athletes think. Right? They might be the nicest dude, but they even know Fafita has an ego, right? So they're watching Arizona thinking, oh, I'm better than Tay Brown, right? Imagine what I could do in this system. Or I'm better than so-and-so. Imagine what I can do if Danny Gonzalez, utilized me the way my coach is not utilizing me here, and I'm going to enter the portal, and you know what? That pitch that Danny Gonzalez made me, I see it. I see how I can get utilized. That pitch that whatever, it's so-and-so made me, I think that is where Arizona, we've been talking about it all year. It was impressive the way they recruited off the back of a 4-win year. Excited to see how they've been recruiting off the back of a 9-win season.
Yeah.
When you have proof of concept as to how you're going to utilize these players. If you're recruiting a Chris Hudson, if you're recruiting name another Riley Wilson, right? They're coming to Arizona off faith at that point. They're coming to Arizona off of belief in Brent Brennan and belief in their position coaches that they were not selling them snake oil, right? And then you come out and you show Redline and you prove that it's real and you win 9 games. And now all these recruits in the offseason are looking around like, okay, what they're saying is real. If I go in, I show 100% effort, 100% accountability, this, that, and the third, I will get the results. And yeah, I think this is big for Arizona. More importantly, I think it's a confirmation that this staff is respected right now in the recruiting ranks and they're moving in the right direction as a unit.
I 100% agree with you, Kevin. I do forget where we might have been at in terms of our portal updates. I think on Friday, maybe we had Malcolm Hartzog Jr. through the door.
Yep.
I believe that is Nebraska transfer, all Big Ten, honorable mention in 2024. Figures to start at corner or safety for the Wildcats, but maybe leaning a little bit more towards safety. I don't believe we talked about one Cam Chapa, Kevin, who
I think we did a little bit.
Did we? I don't remember. I don't remember breaking down his game on this show, but I did think it was funny. ASU troll Glenn, who I'm sure most people in here are familiar with, called him Baby Bash in the comments of our post, and Cam Chapa's dad replied to it and said, "People called me Baby Bash in high school."
Whoa!
With a bunch of laughing emojis.
That's crazy.
It is funny. So yeah, we got Baby Bash now at safety from Northern Colorado. But I think Cam Chapa could be a pretty solid addition. Maybe not, the ultimate ceiling raiser, but I do think that this is a good football player. All Big Sky selection, led the conference in solo tackles that year. We don't have to spend too much time on him, but we haven't talked about, I don't believe, one Rodney Gallagher III, Kevin, who was second in West Virginia last year in receptions. albeit with 28, not that many receptions in a 12-game season. But this is a former 4-star receiver, gets brought in to, in my opinion, replace Nunu Watley. He feels like the Nunu Watley replacement. It seems like DJ Jordan is going to kind of be thrust into the spot of one Chris Hudson, where, maybe he's going to be a little bit more of the focal point of the offense in an ideal world. Whereas Rodney Gallagher, who, and I know that this is like pretty elementary level analysis, Kevin, but this dude wears 24 and he plays receiver. That's screams gadget guy. Screams gadget guy. And I also think, and like I'll need to go back and watch the film a little bit more, but I'm pretty certain that a big reason as to why he was second on the team in receptions is because he did get a lot of gadget plays where they're bringing him around on a jet sweep. They're throwing a little jet pass in front that counts as a reception, but really is kind of a rush, if you will. He's catching bubble screens. He's catching rabbits, rockets, you name it, all types of screen passes. And it's like, I think that's a big reason why he was the guy who was second on the team in receptions. And I expect that role to continue at Arizona. I think Rodney Gallagher is going to be the Nunu Watley replacement.
Yeah, I love having a Nunu Watley replacement, mostly because I think this offense kind of needs a guy. You need a gadget guy. The way Seth Daggy wants to play an offense, he wants to catch a defense off guard every once in a while, and you can't do that without a guy that you can throw in there at any wide receiver position and have any type of gadget play for him. So if he is that guy for Arizona, big on that. Damon, where else were we in our transfer updates? Are we caught up now?
No, we still have a couple more to talk about here. We got one Brandon Holmes out of Fresno City College, Kevin, a junior college, and he will be coming into Arizona. I've heard that Brandon Holmes was one guy that his recruitment was really starting to kind of snowball here, and obviously, doesn't come from the big-time programs, but he definitely looked like a guy who, was picking up some offers from some bigger schools as of late. And he also originally went to Corona del Sol High School in Tempe, courtesy of one Jason Shear. So Arizona guy getting brought back into the fold, and Arizona continues to, kind of just gather depth in that defensive back room because losing a lot of DBs with, guys like Michael Dansby, guys like Dalton Johnson, Traden Stukes, Genesis Smith, all out the door. So yeah, gonna need to still bring in some DBs. Speaking of DBs, Dwight Boodle Jr. You like that name?
I love that name. If you want to learn a little something today, there is a Filipino tradition called a boodle fight. And it's spelled like Boodle, but it's pronounced the exact same way. It's just where you get like a big banana leaf and everyone just feasts on the table. And you just kind of it's very communal, family style. So that when I saw his name, I was like, it's a boodle fight in the backfield. Everybody eats. Everybody gets interceptions. Yeah, no, I love that. Yeah, Charlotte corner.
Charlotte cornerback, Dwight Boodle II. Started his career at Nebraska, played the last year at Charlotte. I believe he started there. Had offers from Auburn and Memphis. So some, Auburn retooling this roster, bringing in a new coach. I do think that beating them out is a solid, addition to the team. Anytime you could beat out SEC competition, it feels pretty good. And then I believe the last one we haven't talked about yet, Kevin, is one Nate Hale from San Jose State, Arizona, and Brent Brennan, Josh Oglesby. Bring in another former SJSU player, the first one of this cycle, of course. This is a guy who played under Brent Brennan for 1 year, is from Southern California, was deciding, I believe, between UCLA and Arizona and chooses the Wildcats. And he started 10 games last year at right tackle for San Jose State. So this is a guy with starter experience. Who knows if he'll be a starter right away? I know Arizona has told one Nate Hale that they expect him to compete for the starting job. And it does feel like it's going to be Matthew Lotto, Rhino Tapa'atotai, and Nate Hale as the, kind of three tackles that are competing for two spots there, unless Tristan Bounds receives that waiver granted by the NCAA, and then he would figure to probably be a Sharpied-in member of that offensive line. So, it looks like Arizona is bringing in a lot of guys who could play some snaps next year. You got a lot of players to replace, a lot of graduating seniors. Not that many people in the portal, all things considered, but still enough where it does take a chunk out of your roster, and you have about 50 spots. So Arizona has to bring in a lot of pieces, just like last year. I do think, however, though, that this is shaping up to be a pretty good portal class here, Kevin. And it does feel like maybe some of these bigger names are starting to, kind of come off the shelf here, because we all know that Arizona is, and I agree, Justin Spears, Louis Akpa, a guy that you brought up a lot in the kind of off season leading up to the year, talking about how he is a potential piece that Arizona really, really likes in that room. So yeah, we could see some more competition at that offensive tackle spot there. But yeah, this portal class, I do think it's starting to round out into form. And I do like where Arizona is going with it. It feels like Arizona is not the team that is going out there saying we want to compete for the absolute top of the top guys in this portal. But I do think that they believe that if they waited a little bit, let some of those top guys get off, go find their new teams. Let some of these teams that have more money spend the most money that they have on those top guys, and then Arizona can kind of have their pick of the litter when it comes to the next crop of transfer portal, availability that they have there. So I like where Arizona's strategy is at. I think that they're continuing to bring in some good names here.
I feel the same way, Damon, and you touched on something that's where I wanted to take this conversation. My favorite part about this staff and the way that they attack the transfer portal every year is they're not that team, like you said, that's just going out to take the draft expression of like best player available, right? Like they're not just going, oh, how can we? I don't want to use that because it seems like I'm taking a shot at ASU, but they could actually use a Mario Miller. But I'm saying like they're not just going out like, oh, whoever the top 5 guys in the portal are, like you said, we need to go get those guys. And if we don't get those guys, we're a joke of a program and we're not serious, right? But what Arizona's doing is better. They're going for fit. What are the things that you and I came into the offseason saying that Arizona needed to address? The lines, DBs, and some things on the margins, right? Like a backup quarterback, for example. Arizona has gone out and attacked all those needs. The DB room has been replenished. You have a ton of new bodies in there. The lines on both sides of the ball are starting to get there as well. We're starting to see some things kind of roll out in that realm. You have a new linebacker who has really high pedigree as well. You're bringing in a replacement for guys that you're losing. It feels like they have a very purposeful attack for this transfer portal, and I love that. If you're going to the store and you're not Mr. Big Bucks and you got to ball out on a budget, you know exactly what you're getting when you go into the store. You don't have the luxury of just strolling down the aisles. Oh, that looks good. I'll take that. Not look at the price. Oh, that looks good. I'll take that. Not look at the price. You have to go in with a list of 10 items that you need to make food for the week, and you're going to spend less than $100 on all of it. Right? So you're going through like blinders on to the rest of it. Not going to look at all the shiny stuff. We're going right to the meat and potatoes. What do we need? We need veggies. We need meat. We need potatoes. That's what Arizona's doing. They need linemen. They need DBs. They need some other skill position players on the margins, and that is what they're doing. So I love the way they're attacking this transfer portal, Damon, and I love the additions, especially of like Nate Hale, of the USC linebacker, who I'm not going to disrespect by mispronouncing his name, but Matai. Yeah, that's what I was going to say, but I'll go first name. We're not on a first name basis, you and I, but we'll get there. You follow our Twitter account. Matai. Justin Spears with a nugget in the chat. Says, expect another receiver soon.
We're dropping news on the AZ Wildcats podcast.
That's how you know Spears loves this podcast.
Yeah, of course. I feel very loved by Justin Spears when he drops a little information nugget in here. But yeah, expect another silent commit at wide receiver very soon, according to one Justin Spears. Love to see that. But yeah, Kevin, solid transfer portal so far for Arizona. Got to continue to build, though, with plenty of spots still available. Every time, though, it feels like I'm like, receiver room feels pretty complete. And then it's like, we're bringing in a receiver.
Here's 2 more for you.
And I'm like, I guess not. I guess I'm an idiot. So we'll wait on who that receiver will be. But
Bobby Wade hitting Twitter with the Vince Carter gif. I got 1 more in me.
Yeah. I'm not finished. We ain't finished yet.
We're not done.
We will be there no matter what, Kevin. And of course, we will be updating you with our transfer portal updates the rest of the way here. You can, of course, follow us on PHNX_Wildcats for all of those updates to happen live on our Twitter account. And, me and Kevin are always keeping you updated as well on our own socials. But Arizona football breakdown of the transfer portal thus far, that was that. And we will get into our first break here on the AZ Wildcats pod. On the other side of the break, we're going to talk a little bit of Big 12 tier rankings here. Can't wait to get into it. Appreciate everybody for watching. Drop a like on this video, drink your water, and do not go anywhere.
If you or someone you know has been involved in an accident or experienced a serious injury, there's only one number to call, and that is the husband and wife law team, who can be reached at 602-783-8841. Now, why are you calling their number over some of their competitors? It's because the husband and wife law team bring hundreds of years of experience to the table in courtroom scenarios. And not only that, but they are specialists in serious injury and wrongful death litigation, part of just the 1% of lawyers in the Arizona State Bar that can claim that, right? They're specialists in this field. From the day the firm opened, the focus has been to help people during some of the most challenging times of their lives by providing an unmatched level of personalized service and legal results, right? You want to feel cared for, but you also want to win your case. And that is what the husband and wife law team promised to try to get you to that point. If you've had a serious injury, call the husband and wife law team first, 602-783-8841, or visit their website at the link in our show notes below. Tell them the boys at the AZ Wildcats pod sent you.
Kevin, we all love a little Vegas weekend, don't we? Like, who doesn't love a quick trip out to Las Vegas? But the biggest issue with it all is that you have to actually get there first. You have to take a red-eye plane usually, or you got to drive about 4.5 hours if you're here in Phoenix, 6 if you're in Tucson. Like, it's a disaster getting up into Las Vegas, Nevada. Why not just stay in your own backyard? Because Gila River Resorts and Casinos has 4 locations here in the Valley that are just as good as Vegas, maybe even a little bit better, Kevin. And it is very easy to get to. They got locations all over the Valley. I know you're out there by Vikiva, correct? So you know, Kevin's on the west side. That's kind of in his realm. I'm a Wild Horse Pass man myself down in Chandler. I love a little Wild Horse Pass action, but Gila is introducing Vegas vibes in Phoenix. Now through April, the Vegas residency at Gila River Resorts and Casinos brings the energy, attitude, and excitement of Las Vegas straight to you. Enjoy exclusive concerts, extended DJ sets, showgirls, chef-driven dining, pop-up bars, and surprise cameos. Plus, don't miss out on that fabulous Corvette giveaway that they got going on, giving out 4 Corvettes to lucky winners all throughout this April month, or through April 27th at Santan Mountain, 28th at Lone Butte, 29th at Vikiva, and 30th at Wild Horse Pass. For more information on that, visit playathila.com. And don't miss out on your chance to accelerate into luxury, play, earn, and win at any of our 4 casino locations. We love our friends at Gila River Resorts and Casinos.
Welcome on back to the AZ Wildcats podcast. We do love our sponsors. We love branded bills. You see it at the top, right? You see it on Damon's head right there. The most fire headwear in the game. More on that later. But for now, let's talk Big 12 basketball. The best conference in the freaking country. Damon, this is a who's who of contenders in this nation right now is in the Big 12 conference. It's the deepest conference. It's the best conference. And Arizona might be the best of the best. But that is why we have this.
Wow, special.
Our Big 12 basketball tier list.
I haven't seen it yet.
Now, you might notice that there are no teams on this tier list, and that is where me and Damon come in. We will be placing teams on this tier list. Now, get interactive in the chat. Let us know, if, as we're talking about a team, where you think that this team should be. Damon, I think we should probably begin with first team up on the docket. Looks like Baylor is the first team on my docket here.
All good. I just wanted to say, though, that the top 4 teams in the Big 12 being a combined 62-2, with those two losses being a 2-point loss to number 4 UConn and a 3-point loss to number 21 Tennessee. Is that not the craziest thing you've ever heard in your entire life? We are 64 games into those 4 teams this season, and they have 2 losses combined, and they're both to ranked opponents by a single possession.
This conference is unbelievable.
I've never seen anything like it. I like every time. Here's what I'm tasking you guys with doing, and I will be a part of this as well. This is not just I'm not assigning you homework and not assigning myself homework as well. But every time some jackass talking head from one of the national media sites wants to say, I mean, we're looking at the Big 12 and the Big 10 as the 2 top conferences in America.
And don't forget about the SEC.
I want you guys to say, you're a circus clown. You wake up in the morning and put your white face paint on, your big red nose. You'd put on your size 24 shoes with your rainbow pants and your big red wig. Like, you're a clown. Anyone who says that this is not unequivocally the number 1 conference in the country is a clown, Kevin. because we have to hear it every season when it comes to football, how the SEC is the best no matter what. And then this year, it's clear as day, the Big Ten is better, right? And so then they're finally in bowl season being like, yeah, the Big Ten might be a little bit better, but the SEC is still really good. And you're like, okay. In basketball, it's not even close. The Big 12 is the best. Go argue with your pillow. Argue with the wall. Like, it's an objective fact. So that's the homework I'm assigning our fans today, Kevin. But yeah, why don't we go ahead and get this thing started with the Baylor?
Let's go see where we have Baylor ranked at, Damon. Now, this is an interesting Baylor team this year, right? Scott Drew is getting guys out of the G League to come compete for his squad because his squad just ain't got it. They bring in that one James Najee fella, and they have not won a game since. They've lost to TCU, they've lost to Iowa State by 10, and they lost to Houston. Now, that is a really tough run of games. I will give them that benefit of the doubt. They have other losses to St. John's, and they have another loss to Memphis. Their notable wins are Braden Locke's new school of Tarleton State.
Braden Locke's franchise.
And then they beat Washington. Like, this is a mid team. I'm sorry. This team is kind of mid. I'm not
going to. They beat Creighton.
Yeah, they did. Oh, I did miss that. Where is that? Oh, yeah, that was November 24th. I missed the Creighton win. That is legitimately a good win. They have Dan Skillings, transferred from Cincinnati last year. They have Obi Agbim, who's a good player. Tunde Yesufu, now that is a dog. I'm a big Tunde Yesufu guy. Big fan of his. Great
James
defender.
Najee stinks.
Yeah, James Najee is a bum. I'm cool putting this team in like the C, like high C's.
I think what they've played so far, I think that they might be the best C team that we got here in this conference. I think they're a C team. I really do.
All right, so
I would have said B before the year. If we were doing this before the season, I would have said B. But I think based off of their results so far, from losing to Memphis to losing to TCU, I think you have to put them in the C category because they're clearly not on the level of teams that are pretty good but like not great, you know?
I do, yeah. And honestly, that's a good point too, Sam Alberts. Cam Carr, underrated in this conversation. That's a pretty good player there as well. Really fun guy to watch on top of that. The next team here on the docket, Damon, Houston. Now, do we have our first S-tier team, or
we do,
or are we putting Arizona in a class of their own in the S-tier?
No, Houston isn't. I've said it before. It's Houston's conference until we take it from them. I still feel that way. I know we're in first place. I know we're the number one team in America. And I know we have been for, a month running at this point. But for me, Houston it's their conference. They proved that last year. Tommy Lloyd is still yet to beat Kelvin Sampson. And that's an S-tier team in pretty much every year until Kelvin Sampson's gone, in my opinion.
I agree with you, Damon. And I think the thing about Houston, right, that makes them such an S-tier team, they have a guy in Kingston Flemings who is one of the best players in the country, like legitimately, as a freshman. Like, we like to make a lot about what Arizona has in terms of freshmen with Brayden Burries and Koa Peat and Kharchenkov. We have a deeper list, but like pound for pound, he is up there with our best guys. That is a fact. He is a closer. You don't see players like that, especially as a guard, freshman, the way that he's doing it. Usually they're seniors killing the way that he's killing. He takes Houston up a level. As Michael says, the only issue is their depth. But even in the biggest moments, you're not playing your depth guys. And I get that you have to get to the big moments with your depth guys. But having Kingston Flemings on that squad, on top of Milos Uzan, like, that is a nasty end-of-game combo that not many teams can mess with. Next on our list, Damon,
I'm gonna say it right now. Houston's going in my Final Four.
Like your Final Four prediction for the season? Yeah.
They are.
That's a good take.
I'm going to continue to put Houston in the Final Four as long as Kelvin Sampson is their coach.
Yeah.
They're so built for the tournament, too. And especially, like, we talk about depth 100%, but you play less and less depth as the season wears on. In the tournament, their guys are going to be given run. Like, they're starters. It's your guys' game to lose. So I think Houston is incredible.
Yeah, incredible. And you talk about games to lose, not many losses in Kingston Fleming's realm if you're giving him the option. Also, just seems like a good kid. Like, do you see that video from early on in the season where he hit like some sort of clutch shot and he runs off the court at the end of the game and he's greeted by his whole high school team from the year prior? They all visited. They all drove to the game to like watch him and surprise him. Pretty cool. You don't do that for a guy that is not a good teammate. Next on the list, Damon is.
By the way, guys, Kevin loves Kingston Fleming.
Dude, he's my guy. He's my guy.
Literally, it is his guy.
Yeah.
Next up, we got BYU, and I don't know. This one might be interesting for us here, Kevin, because their last result was not an S tier team.
No.
Before Utah, I think I would have been arguing S tier. It is a rivalry game, so it is a little bit, different than a conventional setting where, maybe Utah is going to play their, hearts out, best game of the season because they want to take down BYU on the road. But what do you think? What say you? Is this an A tier team or an S tier team?
I think this is an A tier team. I think in this kind of exercise, the S tier should be reserved for legitimate, best team in the country contenders. Now, BYU could get there, but I think right now, today, where this team is at, Damon, I don't think their defense is ready to be an S tier defense. Now, their offense, their shot making, AJ DeBansa is that guy, right? Last 5 minutes of a game, you need buckets, he's pouring them in. But I don't know if the defense, they're letting up, let's see here. They're letting up 84 to Utah. I guess Arizona let up 78, right? But I don't know. I'm not a believer in their defense, Damon. I think this is an A-tier team.
Okay, I'm with it. Let's do it. I think that might be our differentiator there. I do really like BYU, and I will continue to say that BYU is maybe out of all of the teams, just in terms of Houston as well, just because they kind of make you play their play style. But BYU, other than Houston, might be the team that I am most worried about beating Arizona, because I just think they have the offensive firepower to do so, and you need offensive firepower to beat the Wildcats. You're just going to have to have elite shot making. And who has more elite shot making than a trio of AJ DeBansa, Rob Wright, and Richie Saunders? I'm not sure that there's a team in the country that has a better offensive trio than those three. So I like it. I think A tier, that's our differentiator, BYU basketball. But still a team to be taken very seriously, a team that could beat Arizona. Like
you said, like you alluded to, they are right there on the cusp of being S tier. They just, with the S tier teams, as you'll see, we're talking about teams that barely have issues. Teams where you're kind of nitpicking in terms of what is wrong with a Houston, right? What is wrong with no spoilers for the rest of the teams in the S tier. So, moving on, Damon, we have Arizona State, upcoming opponent on Wednesday night. We're going to preview them to wrap up this episode. Where do we think the Sun Devils should be?
Interesting. I think maybe the bottom of C.
Yeah.
Right? They're better than maybe a lot of people thought they were going to be. I do think they have some decent basketball players on their team. Samba Diop had a good game against Kansas State. They were in a dogfight with Kansas State, albeit it was at home. But it was until Arizona State at the end of the game kind of just took over, Kevin. And it ended up being a kind of an easy win at the end of it for Arizona State. I think that they're an okay basketball team. They're not going to make the tournament. They're not going to have a winning record in this conference because it's such a gauntlet. But I do think that they have to be somewhat respected. Pig Glizzy, pretty good. 14 points off the bench on 47% field goal shooting. That's a solid average, I would say.
I agree.
Mo Odum, I know you like him a lot. I think ASU is a C tier team.
I agree with you. Now, before the K-State game, I was going to say that ASU should be at the bottom of the C tier. Right, because the Big 12 is just so good, right? ASU is just simply near the bottom of this conference. That's just the way it is. But they just beat K-State. And that kind of messes with my algorithm there. So I'm going to have them, I agree with you, behind Baylor in the C tier. And we'll see which teams that they end up ahead of, Damon, as we continue on our list. Because I think that ASU is kind of, I've been using this reference a lot, but it's kind of true. They're the balance of perfectly mid. Right, but a little bit less mid. They're kind of imperfectly mid, right? Because you have Bobby Hurley, you have some talented players. You don't have a lot of players on that team, but the talented players you do have are pretty damn good. Next up, the one, the only, the Arizona Wildcats, and I think we can just go ahead and this is an S tier team.
S tier 'em.
This is an S tier team, right, Damon? We're talking about an Arizona team that is undefeated, number 1, never lost. Damon, that is exactly what we're talking about now.
Move Houston the hell out of our way.
Yeah,
we're the number 1 team in America. Get them the hell out of here, Kevin.
Arizona number 1, S tier team there.
Slide them past. I love that.
Slid them.
Yeah.
Slid them right on over, Damon.
Yep. Not much to talk about here. We've all watched Arizona all season. This is the best team in the country. Yeah, deserves to be in the S tier, no doubt about it. If Arizona's not S tier, no team in the country is S tier.
Well said. Well said. Now, this is an interesting team. The Colorado Buffaloes. Where do we place Colorado? Because Colorado is sneakily putting together a pretty competitive season. 12-4, our Tad Boyle's bunch. Losses to Colorado State by 5, Stanford by 9, Northern Colorado. I mean, they're just the losers of the state at this point, losing to Colorado State and Northern Colorado. It's insane. I believe that was the first time they've lost to Northern Colorado since I tweeted it out, man. Since like early 1900s, legitimately. That's a bad loss, like an embarrassing loss for that program. They beat Arizona State, though. So if you're doing some math at home, that should place them in the C tier, in my opinion, Damon. But at the upper echelon of the C tier. But I just don't think they're very good. Like I watched them play at the Hall of Fame series, tail end of that game. It's just.
I had an early payout from with our friends at Bet365 on Colorado Texas Tech this week, and I just saw that Texas Tech was up 20. I had no idea Colorado closed the gap.
Yeah, they only lost that game by 2.
They won the second half by 14.
Yeah,
like they came storming back in that game against Texas Tech. Respectable. They kind of have a bad record on the season when you factor in some of the teams that they've lost to and how they've beaten absolutely nobody. They lost to Stanford, Northern Colorado, and Colorado State, which Colorado State, to be fair, is a legit basketball program. They are a good program. So that one is a little bit more acceptable. But, I think that this is a C tier. I think this is a bottom of C tier team. I take ASU over Colorado if it's head-to-head.
I would too. And as you're going to see here, we have Colorado now at the bottom of the C tier. As Justin Spears also says in the chat, y'all didn't ask, but my favorite Arizona ASU basketball moment will always be Kevin Parham fouling.
Absolutely, Justin. You know what? There's not that many that stick out because it's hard to remember all of the 20-point blowouts that we have year after year after year after year. I know ASU fans will remember the meaningless regular season Desmond Cambridge shot for the rest of their lives. They'll be on their deathbed wearing their T-shirt of the shot that meant nothing. But Arizona is, I mean, like we own them. That's one of the very few moments that I do remember as well.
All right, next up, Damon, is
you just get. By the way, you could not do that in today's day and age. You'd be suspended for like the rest of the season.
Yes, 1,000%.
Shoving a guy under the basket on a transition layup.
Dude, they might ban you from the sport.
Yeah,
you might get banned for that kind of stuff these days.
Absolutely.
Next up is a team that this should be pretty easy. Cincinnati. Where do we have the Bearcats?
D.
And how low in D tier can we put them?
Yeah, they're a D tier team. They're not good. No. Yeah, put them over there.
Yeah, we're just going to go ahead and put Cincinnati all the way at the bottom of the D tier. That is a bad basketball team, straight up. Wes Miller, he gone.
Correct.
He gone. He not coming back, man. We're bringing back Jizzle James to try to resurrect this team. Like, man. Yeah, no, Cincinnati, you might be the worst team in the conference, and this conference has ASU and Utah in it. Speaking of teams on one end of the spectrum versus the other, Iowa State is next up on our list, Damon. Now, is Iowa State an S-tier team?
I believe so, yeah. I mean, I think that's just the body of work that we have to work off of this season. Like, I don't think that they're as good as Arizona and Houston if I'm keeping it a stack, and I know they're ranked higher and have a better record than Houston, but I think that Arizona, Houston are better teams. I think Iowa State deserves that number 3 spot in this conference.
I agree with you, man. I saw a post. Now, this is not exact math, but I did see a post that was looking at the quad 1 through 5 wins of both Arizona and Iowa State, and they're pretty identical, man. The resumes that these two teams have put together are damn impressive. And I do think Iowa State deserves to be in the S tier, but I also think that Houston, based on the merits, of what they have accomplished under Kelvin Sampson, deserve to be just slightly ahead of Iowa State. Are you at all worried about a matchup with Iowa State this year, Damon?
I mean, I would. It would be crazy to say I'm not like at all worried. I think that they're one of the better teams on the schedule. But Arizona also does play Iowa State at home. It's at the end of the season, and it's very possible that game and the result of it is the difference between winning the Big 12 title and not. So I think Arizona is going to that game is going to look like the McKeel Center Super Bowl. honestly. And I think that Arizona wins that game because of it.
I think so too. I also wonder if Iowa State, like for as good as Taman Lipsey and Killian Torrey are, do they got it against Bradley and Burries? Like the thing about Arizona is it's hard to compare. Wow, Justin Spears with an all-timer, says Sam Alberts. Kirk Risa, the Diego Pavia of TJ McConnell.
Sometimes I just want to know how Justin Spears' brain works. I could never formulate that thought if I sat down for an hour and tried to come up with something like that. But
the Diego Pavia of TJ McConnell's.
Good stuff. Man. Solid stuff.
Comment of the pod. That's it.
It's over.
Spears wins. Call it. It's over. But back to the tier maker, Damon. Are we at all worried about Iowa State in all of this? That's what we were talking about. And I think when we're doing the MMA math of everything, this team beat that team, so can Arizona beat them by the same amount? It's hard to judge because we don't know how much better Arizona is than some of these schools. When we're previewing this TCU matchup that just passed, we're like, well, they played Michigan damn close. They should have beat Kansas. But don't we think that Arizona's better than both Michigan and Kansas? So it's hard to be like, well, this is what they're going to do against Arizona. When I don't know if they face a team like Arizona because there might only be one Arizona this year, right? So when we're looking at Iowa State, we're thinking, yeah, they played a bunch of pretty decent teams this year. St. John's, Creighton, Syracuse, Purdue, Iowa, Baylor, Oklahoma State, West Virginia. But none of those teams I just named are even in the same realm as Arizona. I guess maybe Purdue, but I don't really have faith in Purdue to beat in Arizona. So I don't know how worried I actually am about Iowa State when it comes down to it. Now, they are an S-tier Big 12 team. So do with that what you will. But of the S-tier teams of Arizona, Houston, and Iowa State, I think it's clear Arizona, Houston, Iowa State in that order.
I'm with you.
Next up, KU. Where are we rating the Fighting Darren Petersons?
This one's very interesting, right? I think this one might be one of the more difficult ones on the entire board here because they're 1-2 in conference to start, with two of those losses coming to at UCF and at West Virginia, and their win being at home against TCU in a game that they easily could have lost. But out of those three teams, UCF is pretty solid. I think TCU is the best team out of those three. And yet that's the one that they won, and they lost to the other two teams. So they make it pretty difficult on us. Darren Peterson, is he full go? Is he not? Is he going to be for the rest of the season? They lost by 5 to UConn as well. They lost by 13 to North Carolina and Henry Vasar, who went off in that game. I think Kansas is a solid team. I think they probably belong in B, right? They're the definition of a B tier team. If we're assigning grading scales to this, they're an 80 or an 83. They're pretty good, and they have to be taken very seriously. They obviously have the upper echelon talent in a guy like Darren Peterson, but they just haven't really shown consistency this year to be any higher than that.
I think that's exactly the way to break it down. In terms of this, ceiling-wise, could be next to that BYU team up top in terms of pure ceiling of the team. But in terms of what this team actually is, this is a B-tier Big 12 team, which is crazy because you got Bill Self, you got one of the top 5 picks in the draft in Darren Peterson, you got Melvin Council, who has the capability to absolutely turn up and take over a game. You got, you got Trey White, who is a pretty decent role player as well for his standards. Flory Badunga, who's a former McDonald's All-American. Bryson Tiller, makes hits.
Don't
underrate me. Bryson Tiller is an absolute baller and an absolute Grammy Award winner.
Into this show, man.
It is why you tune into this show. It's why Justin Spears tunes into this show. I know he liked that. But yeah, this is a B tier team. That's what this is. KU has the opportunity to beat anybody on any given night because they have one of the best players in the country on their team, albeit on a weird minutes restriction that they have going on there. But yeah, that is a B tier team in KU. One of the more interesting teams though in the Big 12, in my opinion.
Let's go ahead and start speeding this one up a little bit, Kevin, and finish up our tier ranker here. We got next up Kansas State, a school in which Arizona has seen, ASU has seen. They lost to both of those teams. Kansas State is okay, Kevin. They have some talent. They have PJ Haggerty. They're also 0-3 in the conference. They also play the Pillsbury Doughboy. If you listen to their own fan base. I think they have to be in C tier, just based off of what they've shown us thus far, based off of losing to ASU, who's also in C tier, but it being a very back and forth game. They're a C tier team.
This is a C tier team. Well put, Damon. You see the Wildcat down there, K-State Wildcat, that is, behind Colorado on our tier maker. Now, next up, we do have a team in Oklahoma State who is, quite frankly, kind of a tough team to rank. Because I think in terms of like competitive teams in the Big 12, they're right up there with anybody. Like they lost to Iowa State by 12, and that's an S tier team.
But they were winning a lot of that first half.
Correct. They beat UCF, who was everybody's darling heading into that game. They had just gotten ranked, and then Oklahoma State says, "No, we're going to out-tough you, outskill you over the duration of this game." I'm watching that game. UCF makes a couple pushes to get back into it. You're thinking, okay, here's the moment where the ranked team outdoes the unranked team on the road and they escape with a victory. No, Oklahoma State closed it out. I honestly, is this a B tier team?
I think so. I think they've earned that right. I think they've earned the respect of being a B tier team based off of what they've done this season. They are 1-2 in conference to start, but those 2 losses are to Texas Tech and to Iowa State. And that win is against UCF, who I think is also probably a B tier team if we're getting out ahead of ourselves. So I think Oklahoma State belongs in that B tier until proven otherwise. Solid rebrand of the program for Oklahoma State between last year and this year, because they were horrible last year.
Yeah, Steve Lutz, I remember talking about this with you last year. Like, that's a bad team, but a good coach. And I think they're going to figure it out. And here they are, figuring it out. I love what they have in terms of Victorious Miller, Anthony Roy, Christian Coleman, Jalen Curry. Like, I love what they got over there in terms of their skill position guys. So, next up on our list, TCU. Go Frogs.
Frogs.
Frogs. Where are we putting the Frogs on our tier maker list?
I think they're also B tier. I think that they're in the Oklahoma State, UCF kind of realm of being teams that are a little bit surprising, but are very good and that play a good style of basketball, that are, not easy outs by any stretch of the imagination. I like TCU, Oklahoma State, and UCF kind of all in one similar tier. And then conversely, Kansas is a little bit of a disappointment, I think, being in the B tier rather than the A tier. But they're still a very similar caliber team right now to those teams.
I know this is the Big 12 and this kind of goes for every team, but in my opinion, the B tier is kind of like the pretty good teams that can catch anybody on any given night, but you're not necessarily thinking that they could win the conference. Right? That's kind of how I think about it, right? The A tier is teams that could win the conference, but they're not quite perfect. And the S tier are the damn near perfect teams. And I think TCU, Oklahoma State, KU, UCF, like you said, if we're going to get a bit ahead of ourselves, they are specifically those teams for certain. Next up, we got a banger of a team, I'm not going to lie, Texas Tech. This is an interesting one to grade, but I think that they're in that kind of BYU realm.
For sure.
Of really good, but they have some imperfections that are kind of keeping them out of that S tier. At times, this is like just the JT Top and Christian Anderson show. And if they face a team that's just slightly more deep than them, in my opinion, they've really had some troubles in those games. But yeah, this is Texas Tech, one of those teams. They can beat anybody any given night. And if they really put it together, they could, I guess, in theory, make a lot of noise in the conference tournament setting. Damon, do you agree with an A tier ranking for Texas Tech?
I do. They have. I do think they have the upper echelon talent to go very far, where their ceiling is so high because they can be carried by 2 of the best players in all of college basketball. Full stop. So, you look at JT Toppin, 20 points, Christian Anderson, 19, 11 rebounds for Toppin, 7 assists for Christian Anderson. I mean, they are stuffing the stat sheet, those 2, on a nightly basis. A lot of it being pick and roll between the 2 of them, right? And it is their driver of their team, and I think that they are a really good team. They also struggle, I think, to find supplementary pieces to those guys, especially in their against their better opponents. Like when Arizona plays against them, I'll tell you what, I'm not scared of Lawan Watts.
Not scared of Donovan Atwell's threes?
I think Lawan Watts would be genuinely the 6th, 7th best player on Arizona, but he's the 3rd best player on Texas Tech, right? And that's kind of where I'm like that team just, they don't have the depth requirement to be in the S tier. They do have the upper echelon talent to be in the S tier, but for me, they're an A tier team, no doubt about it.
They're an A tier team, Damon. And when you're watching that Houston game down the stretch, I think that felt like and maybe I'm reading too much into it, but it felt like a defining moment of like, nope, Houston is S tier, Tech is A tier. This is the difference. It's 4 points between these two teams. The difference is Kingston Fleming's going off in the clutch.
Yeah.
The difference is a couple shots not falling for JT Toppin when they fell for Chris Sinak on the other end or whatnot, right? So, man, this conference is so good. I love Texas Tech, but they are definitely not quite in that S tier.
Texas Tech is a competitor for the conference title in every other conference in America, if not the favorite.
The favorite. That's what I was going to say. I think they're the favorite in every other conference. I mean, maybe outside the Big Ten because people love to, do certain things with Michigan and whatnot.
Yeah, I guess Michigan, but I think they're every bit as good as Purdue.
Yes.
But yeah,
yes.
I think that I think Texas Tech is an A tier team. Moving on to UCF, Kevin, and we kind of already said where this team is going to be. We're going to put them in the B tier. I think UCF's very good. They're very competitive. They've kind of been like the surprise team, if you will, of the conference, I would argue. Thus far, them and Oklahoma State probably, right? But UCF is playing good ball. They were only working on one loss, and that being to undefeated Vanderbilt until they lost to Oklahoma State on the road. And I think that kind of proved Oklahoma State is a legit squad as well, beating UCF in that game. But Kevin, I know that I have a legal obligation to say that you were the first one on the UCF Johnny Dawkins train going into this season. Or else, I believe you like verbally berate me after the show's over. Damon, you didn't give me my props for UCF good enough, and so I'm gonna do it right here, Kevin. You're the first UCF truther in the 2025-2026 season. Congrats, bro.
I'm glad you remembered. I'm glad you remembered that contract. You did kind of get some of the specificity of it foggy. It's not I berate you. It's that I now get rights to half your year's salary.
Gotcha.
So you just keep remembering that, or else I will just take money out of your pocket, and you'll be wondering where's the rum gone.
Fair. That's fair.
But UCF, like I'm really surprised that they got out to such a hot start to start the year, but I'm not surprised that they're like a competitive team, right? Like we talked about this team being desperate, this team needing guys that have played high level basketball before that can put the ball in the basket. And they have some of those guys, right? If you look at a team like UCF, right, like what they were expected to do coming into the year, right? Fulks has been a revelation for them, in my opinion. Kugel, same thing. Burks, same thing. I'm very impressed by UCF, but they're not quite in the upper echelon of this conference, Damon. Moving on, we have Utah.
We have another D tier team.
Yeah, this is a D tier squad.
Welcome to D tier.
No disrespect to Alex Jensen, first year head coach, still figuring it out, still putting it together.
It's not over for Alex Jensen. It was always going to be a tough rebuild in year one, especially with your conference rival being as good as they are in BYU this season. But yeah, Utah is a D tier team, and I don't think there's any argument against that.
I mean, I think the fact that they pull that game within 5 points against BYU is damn impressive. And I think it speaks to not only that rivalry aspect of this conference where the margins are so small, and if once you add in the rivalry, it gets even thinner. But the coaching of Alex Jensen, right? We know Kevin Young's a damn good coach and he has damn good players. So to lose that game by just 5, if you believe in moral victories, that is certainly one to have taken away. And then the final team, the 16th squad in this week's tier rankings, is none other than West Virginia, where it's like, dude, what do you freaking do with West Virginia?
Yeah, they might be the most difficult team to rank on this thing. They have a winning record in conference right now. They're 2-1. They've beaten Kansas. Yeah. They also beat Cincinnati at home by 2 points, Kevin. So that's not really anything to hang your hat on necessarily. They lost to Iowa State, lost to Ohio State by 1, which Ohio State is a legit opponent this year. They're pretty solid. Lost to Wake Forest, lost to Xavier, lost to Clemson. They essentially lose, I think, to every team with a pulse that they play minus Kansas this year, right?
Yeah.
That's their one win against a team that has a pulse. And Kansas, that's probably going to be their worst loss of the season. I think they're either the worst C-tier team or the best D-tier team, West Virginia. But I'm fine with having them in C-tier.
I will give them the benefit of the doubt because I like Ross Hodge and I like what he did at North Texas, and it's his first year at West Virginia. So I'm giving him some of that first-year coach benefit of the doubt. Let's leave them in the end of C-tier, Damon, because if you look at their losses this year, Iowa State, Ohio State, Xavier, Clemson, Wake Forest, these are not bad basketball programs, right? I know Ohio State's not really like historically a really good program, but like they have Bruce Thornton. Like that's not just like a walkover kind of a team right now. Man, yeah, I think end of the C tier is fair for West Virginia based on their strength of schedule, the fact that they've only lost to one team outside of the Ken Pom top 100, and that was Xavier, who was 104. That's a pretty tough dice roll. And then you're rolling right into Big 12 play, and you kick it off with you handle business against Cincinnati, close margins, but you get the dub. That's all that matters at the end of the day. And then you beat Kansas. I don't know. Like it's,
you need
like,
style points against Cincinnati.
You do. But I guess like I don't know. I like them in the C tier, and who knows where they could be by the end of this year because that is a weird team. They don't have anyone that jumps off the screen at you, right? Like at least in my opinion. I know Lorient went off against Kansas, but man, well, let's tap back in with West Virginia later. This is one of those teams that could either go all the way up to probably a B tier or all the way down to the bottom of D tier by the end of the year. But those are our Big 12 tiers. Let us know what we got right, what we got wrong, what you feel indifferent about in the chat down below. Did any of these surprise you, Damon, before we move on?
No, I mean, I put it together. How would it surprise me?
I guess like coming in, like for example, I would have assumed West Virginia to be in the D tier coming into this, and then they beat Kansas, and now we're like, yeah, well, I mean, what really is West Virginia?
UCF and Oklahoma State are the two surprises for me in the conference of like, I did not expect them to be as good as they are because those are borderline ranked teams with how they've been playing this season. UCF being, I think, number 25. Maybe they dropped down out of this week's rankings. But yeah, I mean, I think that both of those teams are for sure the surprise teams on paper going into this one. But yeah, those are our first iteration of Big 12 tier rankings. Roberto, we are not planning on doing power rankings to answer your question from earlier. This is what we're going to change our power rankings into during basketball season. So football season, we'll do power rankings. Basketball season, we're doing these tier rankings here. And yeah, we will continue to update you guys probably about every other week with our tier rankings throughout the rest of the season. But yeah, fun little exercise there. Kevin, we do have a little bit more basketball to talk on this podcast. We're going to get into Arizona versus Arizona State, what this matchup looks like, what the Devils are good at, what they're bad at. It's a lot. But we're going to get into it right after the break on the ASU Wildcats podcast. Don't go anywhere and drop a like, please.
The holiday season might have passed, meaning you're probably not going to be getting gifts or stocking stuffers any longer. But if there's one way to elongate your vacation, it's to hit the lottery. That's a lifelong vacation if you ask me. With the multiplier scratchers with our friends over at Arizona Lottery, it's the perfect way to multiply your life. With multiplier scratchers from the Arizona Lottery, you can multiply the good things like vacation, relaxation, and celebration. Now, Damon, if I had just one winning ticket, you know what I would do? Because me and Damon, he knows me pretty well at this point. I love to daydream about what I would do if I won the lottery so often. Probably about once a week, I think I sit here and I think, all right, what's the car I'm buying? What's the plot of land I want if I were to ever win the lottery? I have a whole plan. Now, this should be you too, because with over $270 million in prizes, you could win big and big enough to do all the things that you love, just like me. Damon and I talk about it all the time. If we win the lottery, hey man, podcast to the moon. You know what I'm saying? So with access to over 3,500 retailers across the state, you can play wherever and whenever you'd like. Circle K kiosks, I've seen them at Fry's, these kiosks as well. So they're everywhere. Check out our friends at Arizona Lottery, over $270 million in prizes.
If you are looking to upgrade and elevate your brand, there is no other place to go than Branded Bills. We've done so at PHNX Sports. We got some sweet hats from our friends at Branded Bills, some custom hats representing PHNX. You guys are going to have to check those out for yourself at store.allcitynetwork.com. But I got to tell you guys about what else Branded Bills has going on. If you have a custom business, that's the place to go. We, as Arizona Wildcats fans, though, know that this campus collection is the best in the business. You go to any Arizona sporting event, you will see nothing but Branded Bills hats walking around. And that is for good reason, Kevin, because whether it is a trucker, a snapback, a fitted, a beanie, or a t-shirt, Branded Bills has you covered. And of course, this campus collection is truly special. I got a cactus logo hat on my head right now. It's fresh, it's clean, it's a snapback. Kevin, I know you love Branded Bills. You're always rocking Branded Bills around here. They also partner with the Phoenix Suns, so you guys are going to have to check out some of those Suns collab that they have going on over there. Local company out of Mesa, Arizona. They love their Wildcats. They love supporting the University of Arizona athletics, and you guys should go support them as well. We love Branded Bills. Head on over to brandedbills.com. Use promo code BBPHNX and get 15% off your first order. Again, that's BBPHNX for 15% off your first order.
Welcome on back to the AZ Wildcats podcast. That was a lot of fun, Damon, doing our first iteration of power rankings the proper way here on the pod. We've done it in the past, but with the nice fancy graphic that producer Noah made us, it just looked so much better. So shout out to Noah. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Please leave a like on today's show. Please leave a like if you either enjoyed, felt indifferent, or hated our power rankings there. Giving you no option but to leave a like. So please also subscribe. We're trying to hit 50K. That is a big milestone here for PHNX, trying to hit that very soon. Now, to wrap up today's show, we're going to be talking a little bit of ASU basketball. That is coming up Wednesday night, late at night. These two, Damon and I, will be burning the midnight oil covering ASU versus Arizona. And what should be an absolute blowout for the Arizona Wildcats. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. This preview is not going to be to the same level of like in the weeds. It's probably like the Houston or Texas Tech or BYU games, because Arizona should kill this team. That's just what it is. I don't know how else to break it down to you, Damon, or to the people, but like Arizona State, not a good basketball team. Don't have a good basketball coach. Not a good basketball program. That's just what they do over there. They barely have basketball fans. They barely have fans for the basketball team.
That's a fact.
I mean, I know it's kind of an inverse thing for the two schools where, like, ASU fans make fun of Arizona fans for not going to football games, and Arizona fans make fun of ASU fans for not going to basketball games. But, like, it's true. The fans for Arizona State basketball, non-existent.
Here's the major difference, though, is that we talk football.
True.
And I agree. Like, the fan support, I'll be the first one to say the fan support this season was not good enough, right? I've been pounding that drum on this show for months now, right? I even was trying to galvanize the troops in our last home game of the season against Baylor. I went to the game to put an extra butt in a seat. You know what I mean? Like, it was, I bought 4 tickets. I took 3 of my friends. Like, I was doing everything possible. But like, Arizona fans like talking football online, at least. The online portion of the fan base does not just ignore the sport or pretend it doesn't exist. Yeah, there's more hype around basketball because we're better at it consistently. We're the number 1 team in the country. But Arizona football, especially when the team is winning football games, people are locked in. ASU basketball, when are they ever locked in?
They're locked out.
There's legitimately, and I respect these people immensely. So I will say this. There's about, 5 to 10% of ASU fans that genuinely really care about their basketball program. Shane Diefenbach is one of them here at PHNX Sports. Like, there are ASU fans out there who love ASU basketball, and I respect those people because they show up, they show out, they take the jokes, and they support a team that will just frankly always be inferior to their in-state rival, right? So it's like, it's hard knowing that game in and game out. But let's not get it twisted and compare our football support to their basketball support, because it's genuinely not even close. Our football fans are way better than their basketball fans. We dominate their arena every time that we play them. They dominate our stadium when we have the most disappointing year in program history and they're about to go to the college football playoff, right? But not really any other time. That's a one-off year versus a consistent thing that happens every single year.
That was well said on that bit, because you're right. It's not like the exact same thing, but they do like to act as if it is. And in terms of previewing this matchup, when you're looking at Arizona State basketball this year, it is pretty much a 3-man show of Massamba, Diop, Mo Odum, and Pig Glizzy, right? And I think in terms of how Arizona is going to shut down these 3 guys and absolutely make it a blowout, Arizona State does not really have depth of talented basketball players. It is those 3, and then you're really, really stretching the definition of good basketball player.
Yeah.
With Noah Musin, with Santiago Trué, with Mukeba, with Trevor Best, with Bryce Ford is the name I was looking for there. They just don't move me in any real way. And if we're gonna break it down to some 3 things on each side, their weaknesses, their depth, their efficiency on both sides of the ball. Well, not both sides, but offense and defense. And Bobby Hurley. I went rogue, Damon. I didn't give a third weakness. I just said Bobby Hurley is their third weakness. Because anytime you got a coach that is getting himself ejected at halftime of every single rivalry game, that is a massive weakness for your program. And as you said in the show tweet, 4-17 against Arizona in his career, he can't do it. He can't beat the Cats with any level of regularity. So one of their weaknesses in this matchup is Bobby Hurley. And as Justin Spears put out, I will wrap up the Bobby Hurley part of today's show by saying this. As of last year, with Arizona's win over Arizona State, Bobby Hurley has more technical fouls than wins against Arizona.
Is that good?
No. Your coach who doesn't actively play in the game having more techs than wins against your rival? Not good. Not good at all. Bold strategy. We'll see how it works out for little Bobby. Team strengths, though, what they do well, they're good at scoring off turnovers. They're great at drawing fouls, like one of the best teams in the country at free throw attempt rate and also personal fouls drawn per game. And I would say their size is a very strong factor for Arizona State. They are 11th in the country in average height. For reference, Arizona is 7th or 8th, I believe, in that same category. Massamba Diop, he's one of the only players really in this conference that can, I'll say, match up with one Motiejus Krivas from a height and weight perspective. Now, it's yet to be seen whether or not he has it in terms of skill and strength, but in pure size, when you're looking at these two teams, it's not the most stark difference that you're going to see for an Arizona opponent all year.
Yeah. I honestly, I could envision this one being a little bit more of a Tobe Awaka game than a Mo Krivas game.
Same.
I feel like a guy like Diop is going to underestimate a 6'8" matchup against the Tobe Awaka a little bit more than he would. And you know, I was watching him on some possessions. Like there are times where he kind of falls asleep, where you're like, bro, you didn't move the entire possession. You just stood still.
Bobby ball.
I feel like if he starts underestimating what Tobe Awaka can do because of, you know, he's a good 4 or 5 inches taller than him, that's when you really start to get dominated by a guy like Tobe Awaka, who is just going to fight tooth and nail for every single position, you know, box out, you name it. So, I think that it's going to be interesting to see how Diop plays against these Arizona big men, because I don't know if he definitely hasn't faced that level of challenge yet. But yeah, he does have some flashes. So he is he's a pretty solid basketball player. He's fun to watch. And I will say that the first two things that you put on there, Kevin, in terms of scoring points off turnovers and drawing free throws, are two things that ASU is consistently good at under Bobby Hurley. Last year, I believe they were kind of those were two of their better qualities as a team. Like this is consistent within Arizona State. So they like to try to force turnovers. They're not a good shooting team. And they never are when Bobby Hurley is their coach. So I think that, you know, this is a game where they are going to have to hit shots, no doubt about it. They're going to have to hit threes. You can't beat Arizona as an inferior opponent if you don't hit threes. But I think their main method of trying to win this game is going to be to try to create chaos on defense, try to turn over Arizona and try to really fluster maybe some of the younger players on the team. But obviously I think that we've seen enough of Arizona to know that that's not going to work out for them.
No, yeah.
That's just the method of attack that they almost have to have going into the game. I do think Arizona is just too good, however, to get beaten by ASU in that regard.
Dog, this is Jake Paul, Anthony Joshua. If you're Arizona State, your only hope is to sprint around the perimeter of the ring and hope that Arizona gasses itself out, and then you can go in for the 1-2 and maybe knock them off their balance, not even knock them out. And maybe then you can get a judge's decision at the end, lose by a bunch of points, and the fans of Arizona State can be like, well, you see, we only lost by 8. Bobby ball, it works. I think you're right. Like, this is, as Matt Muehlbach said of one of the other games earlier this year, this is not a fair fight. I believe he said that about Utah. But I think you can copy-paste that for, as I pull back up our tiers real quick, I think you can copy-paste that for any team not in the B, A, or S tiers. Yeah. It is not a fair fight when Arizona's going up against Arizona State. It is not a fair fight when Arizona's going up against Colorado. It is not a fair fight when Arizona's going up against K-State, West Virginia, Utah, or Cincinnati. Right? So that is, Arizona State is one of those teams where if you're Arizona and you handle business, this should not be close. This should be a 20 to 30 point blowout against your rival. Now, the rivalry aspect, we can talk about that just for a brief second. We just saw this with BYU and Utah, where you look at these two teams, as you just saw in the tier ranking, almost could not be further apart in their rankings on those tiers. And yet it's like a couple possession game between those two teams. That's not this. There's a percent chance of that because it's a rivalry and you got to play the game and you never know. But this should not be a close one, Damon. There's no realm, no world, no universe in which where Doctor Strange can peep in and see Arizona State winning it. I just don't see it for the Sun Devils. But for the Wildcats, this should be almost like not even a get right, but this should be a game, nice come down after a TCU challenge, a team that really punched you in the mouth, and play ASU and get them out the paint pretty quickly.
Deborah wondering if this is going to be Bobby Hurley's last season, and I think that brings up a good point, Kevin. Really take in these final 2 Arizona State games of this season. Breathe it in, ingest it, live it, love it, laugh it, Kevin. This is the end of an era that we are witnessing here. Bobby Hurley in the final year of his contract, despite being in the final year of his contract, put together a pretty respectable roster, in my opinion. Bunch of nobodies. Bunch of, this is the island of misfit toys. And Bobby Hurley was like, dude from Las Palmas in the 2nd division. We'll take him. He's really good. And Pig Glizzy, who no one wanted. And Mo Odum, who is like, okay. Like, I think that the fact that they've put together a roster that is as respectable as this in that final year as a dead man walking is pretty impressive. The fact that they're not a D-tier team on our list is pretty impressive to me. That being said, this is the final moments of one Bobby Hurley. And like I said, let's really take it in, guys, because we will not get to beat Bobby in his house, which is really our second house, ever again. So it's a special moment, and I'm going to get emotional on this podcast.
Dude, really, really well said, honestly, and I'm glad you touched on that because especially the impressive piece of what Bobby Hurley has done. You and I in the offseason were making jokes. Like, obviously, we didn't think this was real, but we're making jokes about, like, is Arizona State even going to be able to field a team? Are they even going to be able to have guys that want to come play for that program right now? You don't have any guy on the roster outside of Trevor Best, right? And for them to be competitive in the Big 12 right now, for them to have beaten Kansas State, for Mo Odum to put up damn near 40 in Maui against Sean Miller in Texas and end Sean Miller's Maui dreams of this year, impressive what Bobby Hurley is doing. He's coaching
Lost
like a
lot
guy.
Of money on that game.
Yeah, same. He's coaching like a guy who is potentially in his last year at a school and needs to put some good tape on record to get either back at this school or to the next spot in the Big East. But yeah, Damon, that was well said. That was definitely well said. I don't really have too much more on the Bobby Hurley thing because, as you know, I like that he is easy dubs. I do. But, like, think about the Territorial Cup this year. How amazing that was.
But, dude, that's the difference.
Because both
Kevin,
teams were good.
Yes, but that is not the same thing.
Break it down.
Football is like goes back and forth.
That's fair.
Our programs have their ebbs and their flows. Yeah,
that's a good point.
Own them in basketball. I never want to see them in a spot where they are competing with us in basketball.
That's a fair point. You're actually, that is sage wisdom that you just dropped on my head top there. Opinion shifted.
Bobby
I am
forever.
#moved.
Bobby forever. Moved. That's what I always say. Bobby forever. Bobby contract extension.
Pigeon's onto something here, man.
That's a good coach.
That's a hell of a ball coach in Wes Miller, man. You see what he's doing with Cincinnati, turning good players into the worst team in the conference? I like that Wes Miller guy.
I still have not forgotten what he did with North Carolina Greensboro back in 2018. I haven't forgotten. And I think ASU would be wise to not forget either. I do think ASU, and this is from everything I've ever heard regarding ASU basketball, and people that are pretty locked in with the program, I think Randy Bennett is the guy they're going to go after when after this season. I think they're going to go after St. Mary's as coach. And I think that's a great move. I think that'd be a phenomenal move. That feels like a coach who he has a clear system. He has a clear plan of attack when it comes to recruiting and how he goes about his business and how he runs his program. And I think that would be a level raiser for ASU, unfortunately. But I'm #Bobby forever. You can't take me off of that hill. I'll be fighting until the death for one Bobby Hurley. But that is our ASU basketball preview for today.
I'm just seeing this. I saw it on Twitter and I had to go to confirm it. Arizona State, please pray for that basketball team. They face Arizona and Houston in the span of 4 days. That's insane.
Welcome to the Big 12.
Yeah, that's that's unfortunate for them.
This is
hate to see bad stuff happen to good programs, man.
Going to the Big 12 from a basketball standpoint for a program like Utah, Colorado, and ASU, the three teams that came along with Arizona from the Pac-12 to the Big 12, disaster. Because those three schools could compete in the Pac-12. ASU, Bobby Hurley has a couple like top 4 finishes in the Pac-12. You know, Utah's had some good years. Colorado, Tad Boyle has a job because he was playing in the Pac-12 for as long as he was. Moving to the Big 12 for those teams, complete and utter disaster. For football, you could argue it's a good thing because it gave Utah was already competing at the top of the conference, and they figured to be, kind of one of the staples at the top. But ASU and Colorado, it gave them opportunities to kind of be at the upper echelon of a conference. And if you listen to Colorado fans, they have fixed this roster from last year to this year. Despite Dion being, what does he have? 16 wins in 3 seasons, Kevin, which is on average 5 wins a year, not quite bowl eligibility. Everything is perfect in CU land because they landed a couple of transfers. We haven't heard that before, have we?
I was going to say, I saw the DMVR Buffs page put out that tweet of the dog playing in the stream, looking like nothing's been wrong, no evil's ever happened in the world, and what it feels like to be a Colorado Buffaloes fan right now. And I was thinking, what happened over there that has them in literal feelings of euphoria? What is going on in Colorado?
They have a good transfer class, but have they not had good transfer classes the last 2 off seasons?
Wasn't that the one thing that Dion was doing really well, was getting guys to decommit from Alabama and come play for Colorado?
Dion is a great recruiter, and out of his 3 seasons, he's recruited well every year, and he has 2 horrendous seasons in mixed in between there.
The guy recruited so well, he had 4 quarterbacks last year.
Correct.
Couldn't pick between one.
Yeah. I mean, maybe it's time to recruit some offensive linemen. Just a thought. I was told that was fixed this past offseason, so we'll see what that looks like this offseason. But yeah, I think disaster move to the Big 12 for those 3 basketball programs. But it was a football-related move. It had nothing to do with basketball from their perspective, so it makes sense. Appreciate everybody for being here in this podcast. You're right, Sam. Colorado did win a Pac-12 once. That is something that happened. Tad Boyle is a conference champion. Shout out Kenny Dillingham. I heard that's it's
pinnacle.
Pretty similar right there, neck and neck. I
heard conference championships were actually the pinnacle of all sport, and that if you win a World Cup or a Super Bowl, the Arizona State Sun Devils football team circa last season are still more impactful in history than you.
Kenny Dillingham is the Tad Boyle of college football. Confirmed.
Dude, this is a side tangent, but I think you'll appreciate it real quick before we end the show. The gall of ASU football fans to when we're having these conversations about the best sports runs in Arizona, the state of Arizona history, they're like, well, that Big 12 title run, you won the conference. It's not up there with winning the whole league.
A B-tier conference.
You didn't win an NFL championship. You didn't win a WNBA championship. You didn't win a MLB World Series. You didn't win an NHL Stanley Cup. You won the equivalent of winning a division. And it took in those sports.
It took a 4-way tiebreaker for them to even make the conference championship.
It's one of the better runs in the state's history. One of the more memorable ones for certain. But come on,
we have to have the best ASU run in their football program.
You got to have some humility with that to understand the Big 12 championship is not the pinnacle of all sport. But yeah, let's get out of here. Let's get out of here.
Appreciate everybody for being here in this show. We're going to be live, not tomorrow. We're off tomorrow, but we're going to be back on a Wednesday. Pregame, postgame for Arizona State versus Arizona. We'll be doing pregame 30 minutes prior to tip-off, and that is at 8 p.m., guys. That's at 8 p.m. this week because we got a late one in store for us on Wednesday. Cannot wait for that one. And then, of course, we will be talking postgame after that game is over, about 10:15 after that tip or after that final buzzer sounds. Arizona versus Arizona State. Make sure that you guys are there for that pregame and postgame. You can follow me at Damon Dog. In the meantime, I am at DAWG on the end of that. And, of course, at Kevo Posts for my guy Kevin Thomas. Follow us at PHNX_Wildcats. Except for on TikTok, we're at AZ Wildcats Pod. And we will see you on Wednesday for pregame Arizona versus ASU. Be there or be square. Until then, peace out. Bear down.
And go Cats. Forks down.
We all silly like the mayor.